I'm going to ask you to come back again so that we allow people to get a chance to ask you guys questions and to ask the community questions. So if you guys could come back on the front here. Yeah. All right, so how do we tell when it's time to walk away? When is the right time to walk away? Because my understanding is that when we pursue these dreams that we have, often at times they have ups and downs, and sometimes the ups and downs are momentary. But how do we tell that this is the one that's the sign? That's the sign.
Okay. There is something that Stephen said when he said that most times when you have gone through the worst, you are able to choose because you are refined. Now you know exactly what you want. This is why you can look at failure as a refining moment or as a breaking moment. So it just depends on how you perceive everything that you're going through. When you are in the midst of it like now, I am, it's painful. But it's the understanding of the process that says this is just but the refining moment. So you know that for me, if it's quitting, it will be once I lay my hands on that dream, once I carry that baby that I have been pregnant with all my life, then I think that is when I can say, now I can stop. So it means there is no quitting for me.
So there's no quitting for
you.
Okay. Stephen, what would you say is...
So 2022, when everything else was going south, the two things or person and thing that kept me alive was every fortnight I would go see my son. It was my turn with him, so I'd drive to go see him. And every time I entered that gate, school, he would see me from a distance and he would run to me. And this guy will give me a hug as though like I'm the best champion on the planet. That was the only place I got unconditional love. The second one was every time I open up my gate, my dog would wiggle its tail, will jump on me, and literally when I'm sitting there, it will be literally sitting next to my lap. So on a daily basis, I used to look forward to getting into the gate and my dog barking. Every fortnight was going to see my son. So I then realized that the most important thing in my life now is being a present father. My son is 8. I've got another 10 years of his life where I can be able to input into his life. Once he's 18, he's his own man, right? So anything, any business, I'll have to choose whether I'm a present father or running a business. I wouldn't do it. So if it's going to take away my number one responsibility of being a present father, I'll quit it. So that's for me, the defining moment now is what's keeping me alive, being a father.
I think we want to create a space where people can really be honest and vulnerable, just as Stephen and Thato have been here. So I really want to invite you to share your stories as well as we go along. I think now that I've asked my question, I want to also open it up to the audience for their questions.
Do you think, even with your businesses, the ones that are running and the ones that are not anymore, whether scalability or scale had something to do with maybe some of those, because I think you spoke about a 45,000 figure, and a 45,000 figure is it's a huge figure to, if you then don't succeed or if something happens, to fall from. So, and I'm looking at an economy that is Lesotho. We're talking about 2 million people. I always say this to people that it's a very small economy. So even if you have an idea that would succeed, maybe in Nigeria or in South Africa, where there's 65 million right now people, just because there are just fewer feet to your shop. Is there a part? I just want you to discuss about how scale may have affected your businesses, just because it's a smaller economy and maybe Lesotho might not be able to take a business if you scale it way much bigger than normal. Yeah.
Big and small is very relative. Yeah, sure. Right? We import 2.4 billion per annum worth of chicken. That figure is the one that is declared. There's probably 50% of under declaration and smuggled. So 2.4 billion is not pocket change, is it? We import 1.2 billion worth of red meat. We import 1.1 billion of fresh produce. We import 400 million of dairy products. That is not pocket change. So a lot of times we believe these myths. The bank doesn't give money, right? And if you ask the person who says that and say, were you declined a loan at the bank? The answer is probably no. So as we say, small economy in comparison to Nigeria, it all depends what sector and what product are you selling. And look at that and then say, what's the market size that exists in Lesotho currently? And then you will decide if it's a small economy or not. I mean, I don't know many businesses that are turning over 2 billion. Not even large corporates like Vodacom is doing that.
So scale was never an issue.
So scale was never, like literally, I was not even scratching the surface.
And just to add to that, I think Thato did say she dabbles. Like a lot of us, I think a lot of people that are here are people that are already in business or are interested in getting into business. I mean, she did mention that you find yourself dabbling. You are the finance person, you are the marketing person, you are the CEO, you are everything. So, yeah, I think that's a...
So, Thato, would you say if you had certain systems in place, your business not as
I'm not so sure, because the thing is we can have systems in place, but who is regulating the systems? Okay. Because also that can be the biggest factor in business. But if I were to make an example with my butchery and restaurant, personally I would say, I think for me the systems were in place, not proper, but for the scale that at which I was running it, the systems themselves. Obviously, somebody asked that when you spoke of the systems obviously business and what is it that you are trying to achieve. Because for me, a system is making sure that I have somebody like when I say you cook this, they are always there. We have somebody abesanama. Those are systems. But they complicate systems and things. It has to be something wrong. Are you having the right chef? Is the chef able to do what it is that you are trying to do? So obviously, like I said, it still boils down on what kind of business that you are running. So for me, I think the systems were in place. It differs with businesses, because with Lekatsa personally, like I always say, I'm that person that I look at my business as a 5-year-old, and you are literally riding on a 5-year-old, you understand, to pay the fees. And so how the business failed, that one particularly, was because I was starting to feed on it on my personal, like I didn't have a salary. I would take money and pay my daughter's fees at Machabane. It was 5,000 per month. That was a lot of money. The business couldn't afford it at the time. So systems can be placed and put in place, and they can be running well, but there can be other factors that fail your business. So it's not about the systems, it's not about, for me, it's not about the systems, it's not about the scalability, but it's about, are you recognizing what is making the loophole? Where are you failing as a business person? Because what my failure cannot be another, because in my head I'm looking at Mon Foods and I'm looking at the hospitality field, two different, because it doesn't matter what systems you place, but there will always be those loopholes. It's difficult running Mematarang. What you are trying to achieve here is so difficult because the systems themselves are so difficult. So it's about finding where you think you are failing and then trying to see if maybe you can try and, so
how important is it for us to write procedures of how to do a particular job within your business? How is it important to have procedures written down clearly without you saying, you understand, but I just wanted to give it context.
So I'll talk about the biggest one that has the biggest risk on you. So I'm a lunatic, right? So yeah, like I'm a lunatic. I am. Like I dream and I go and I'll do it until it's done. I'll bang my head against the wall, right? So for Montech, I have people who are steadies, right? Who will say, that's amazing, but we're not going to do it now. For Mon Foods, I have Dadaliti. Dadaliti has his so risk averse. He comes from a risk background. You understand? Yeah. He used to work in credit in the bank. So every single time I'm going, like, we're going that route, is like, for 10, I have Meritabi. You understand? Meritabi is a steady. So you need to identify your personality, because your personality is the one that makes the business to a certain degree. And that very same personality is the one that can kill the business. Sometimes your personality is flamboyant. So you cannot have another person who's flamboyant in the business. You need the opposite of that. Who'll say, hey! You understand? Our compliance level differ based on our personality. So if you know that you push boundaries, because the biggest problem here now, we don't want to be governed. You run your business because you want to own your time, be your boss. You can never be your boss. You need to say, Kidwan, who is going to be the person that I respect enough to be able to listen to his no or her no? Right? So processes, guys, we cannot run businesses. The basic bookkeeping. We cannot do business without understanding the regulatory environment that you have to comply with. Right? Compliance, bookkeeping at a minimum. But if you're lucky, you then have somebody who will be able to do your projections, somebody who will be able to look at your management accounts, right? And more often than not, we think those things are expensive.
I keep on saying this. I think success is based on small, seemingly insignificant things that we're supposed to do on a daily basis, but we don't want to do that. So it's important that we know I need to have bookkeeping, I need to have a procedure on how to cook this thing, I need to have this, I need to have this. Nothing too complicated, nothing with the formula and whatnot, but be specific on what needs to be done and actually follow through on that.
I think we just need to give a chance for any other questions before we wrap this up. I know there are a couple of you.
There's one
Okay.
Okay. So obviously, the watering hole is about raw and unfiltered. So I think this might stem away from systems. But I think as a business owner, there's a personal relationship you have to have with yourself as well. So while you're going through failure, I think I want to know like what relationship you have with food or your health. It's because you could really be going through like the worst of the worst, and you know, not just food. You'd think it's 2 tequila shots and then it's 6, or maybe 10. So how do you regulate that? Like, where do you find the discipline within yourself? Because you have a business and you have to keep it going. So what is that relationship that you have?
A lot of times we shy away from, you know what? Right now I am depressed. You know what? And I'll tell you, there was a time I needed to find what keeps me alive. Because in 2022, I had nothing else keeping me alive. Everything that mattered was gone. So what kept me alive was waiting for every second week to go see my son, to go see that smile. So you need to find the one thing that keeps you going. And in the midst of failure, the one thing you don't want to fail. Imagine a situation where my son, he thinks I'm a hero, and the next thing I've committed suicide. Because we could easily get there, guys. And a lot of times we want to shy away from these things, right? So I quickly realized, and even I'll share a personal story. So one day I'm sitting in my room and I pass out. And I have this dream of me taking a gun and shooting myself. And then I sleep again. The same dream occurs. But now it's my gun. I can see it. And I get scared again. The third time, I have the same dream again. Same day, within an hour. And I remember at one point I'm like, and it's like, wouldn't be a bad idea. Wouldn't be a bad idea. That moment, I went to my safe, I took my gun, I took all the bullets out, and it was about 1:30 in the morning. I couldn't wait for it to be morning so that I can call my therapist. And I called her and I said, Anna, this is what happened last night. And at one point I thought, couldn't be a bad idea. And that's when I had to say, why would I want to stay alive? It was not business, it was not fame, it was not being known for whatever. It was my son. That is why I say to you right now, any business, any job opportunity that will take me away from being a present father, I don't touch. Because that's what kept me alive. So you need to find what keeps you alive.
Man, it's raw and unfiltered, eh?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with somebody, and whenever they were accusing this person because on Facebook, like on social media, they would tell her, now my husband is hitting me, and I used to be that person who would go like, no, there was something wrong with that person. But I continue to learn that sometimes it's called depression for a reason. It's because you don't have control over the situation. You don't know, like, if maybe I will have an opportunity to watch this thing, I'll probably say, Thato, where was your head? Because I'm in the midst of it, you understand? And sometimes it's easy to say. I remember, like Stephen, what drove me, people who know me know the crazy mad love I have for my children. And every time, I would, for me, it has always been them. For me, as a single parent providing for my 3 kids, it has always been you know, the smile on their faces when mommy gets home and she has something for them to eat. That has been my tribe, you know. For me, there's always been, you know, every time they look at me, they're like, my mother, like my kids are like, you know, this woman works hard for us. They look up to me, you know, and for me, there's always been that drive to get home and make sure that, you know, I keep and maintain those smiles on their faces. But when I had found myself having to separate with them, now, like, it has to, like, there's no way. My son, I can't do home because he has allergic reactions. I cannot tape, I cannot dijo, I cannot. Now I have to the same father I'm a and say, guy, take care of the kids, you know. And then for me, it was, now what's my why? Why am I doing this if I can't now get home to them? And I see those faces, boom, because I have something for them. Now what's my why? And then it took me back to a statement I read, they come through us, not for us. Because sometimes we put so much burden on these kids and we say it's about them. And sometimes when they choose their path, we are going to say, you know, I stayed because of you. You know, I endured this because of you. But then it was a turning point for me because I had to now really, really ask myself, Thato, what is your why? And then it boiled down to the fact that it's vision. That's nothing else. God showed me this, and until I see it, He didn't show me kids, He didn't show me having kids, He didn't show me the vision. And at the end of the day, it has to be my mission. Why am I here? So when you are in depression, I smoke weed now, and I never found myself having to be bold and public about it because people shy away from it. I remember telling my mother that it's either this or I'm telling you. Because as a single mother, the pressures of businesses, also trying to build a name for yourself. How Thato Lekatsa, who's Lekatsa? You understand? You are that first generation that needs to push for yourself. You need to leave a legacy for your kids. You need to make it until you know that when you die, when your kids enter an office barrack Lekatsa, and then they say, no, we know your mother. That is what I'm trying to do. So it's so difficult. So I'm just saying, some people find themselves having to opt up or find themselves not because they have a choice, because that's the only thing that seems to work. You are somewhere and you're having a conversation and you're like, hey guys, I'm dying. Like, you girl, you gotta smoke. And then where the fuck have you been all my life? And then you see your mother, the pressures, you know, your mother, you are a child, you have been a gospel teacher. You are that icon in the family, that one that broke the curse that, you know, I'm going to make it in business. My name is going to be known. And finally, you are seeing that happening. And then your mom comes back, Thato, no, Satan na Satan wana. How? And then your mother is the one telling people that you are crazy and you are smoking. And in the head, you're like, girl, you can't survive a day in my shoes.
I hear the story Stephen and Thato are talking about. But I'm wondering, like, if this was our world, like, or this is Lesotho right here, how is it that, what would happen if everyone started a business? You know, like, I want to know how to filter that. Because if everyone in here started a business, then who would work in these businesses? So I want to know, is it like everyone's role to start a business? Like, how do you know if you're meant to start a business or not?
I saw a random post on Facebook, and it says, at its core, entrepreneurship is about solving complex problems creatively, and often that in many ways. In this story of Africa, it is why I believe every leader on the continent, whether in government, business, civil society, needs an entrepreneurial thinking. So a lot of times we think to be an entrepreneur is to own a business. One of the selection criteria I have when I employ people is, can this person bring that entrepreneurial spirit in the organization? Can this person, let me explain. I have a vision, right? Can you find your vision and my vision.
Yeah.
Because for as long as you find your vision and my vision, your entrepreneurial spirit will be alive. And my role as a leader is to create an environment that enables you to thrive in who you are. You don't have to conform. Right? Because entrepreneurship is about solving problems. So if the problem I'm solving, and you're my employee, is the problem you desire to solve, then you are enterprising within my organization. And my job as a leader is to one day allow you the freedom to be able to move out of my own business.
A bit on that, for me, I think I see it a bit differently than the way that Steven sees it. Because for me, it's about the basic thing. When you are broke and you can't have employment and people go start a business. You know, we are having, the Blue Ocean Strategy calls it a Red Sea because of people who ran away from what they're supposed to do because they felt like business is that, you know, but you know. And for me it's always been, it's like how if you go be a doctor, you know. It's so much for me. I just want to use this rough words maybe to say I think it's an insult if people failed at their career and then they are told to go start a business, because business is not just that place where you dump people who maybe didn't make, you know, their careers work. It's a career. It's something that, it's purpose. It's something that you are a seed bearer. God didn't bring you here to try out. You need so for me it boils down to purpose, obviously, because once you know who you are and once you know what you are born to do, then you understand your role. And then you will understand your role in the business. Like I'm saying, you don't just approach business because, in fact, you don't just approach employment because you hate it. You have to understand that you are there because you are serving. That is what you are born to do. So people need to understand that service is not just something you do whiling away time. It's what you are born to do. I tell people all the time that when you look at a car, you know, smaller nyana pieces like a fuse, if it bends, the car is not going to move because everything is serving its purpose. So even employment, as long as you do it because you know that I'm here because I was born to do this. I was born to work Linda Monyamane. I was born to be this under him. Then you understand it's not just about making money. It's not just about, but it's about purpose. So for me, all the time it boils down to purpose. And I tell people all the time that once people understand their role and their purpose and what they are born to do, you look at a cocktail, a fruit cocktail, everything will eventually pop in the fruit cocktails because an apple is not trying to be a banana. A banana is not trying to be a mango. Everything understands its role in the whole thing and it pops nicely. It's in its own time. So I think for me it's understanding why were you born, serving your purpose more than trying to make money. Also, I tell people all the time that in as much as I'm seated here and, you know, telling and sharing my story that I'm hungry, at the end of the day, an entrepreneur, we need to tell people the truth. It's because we like money. You are here because you want to be maybe a capitalist, for heaven's sake, because you want to enjoy the finer things of life, and you are going to need people who understand that at the end of the day, in as much as they work with you, but they are not going to, they work for you. You understand? So we can sit here and say, I'll met Thato in, but when I'm enjoying the fruits of this labor that I'm going through now, very, very unfortunately, it's going to be, you know, congratulations. So I think we need to be honest about who we are and what we are doing and why we are doing it. Also knowing our enough. There's something that, you know, and, you know, embracing and understanding when to stop is also knowing your enough. Apart from the vision, it's knowing when to stop. When will I know now? This is my enough. Now I'm comfortable. That for the first time in my life, I'm okay. That Monyamane said, "Now I'm fine," because he understands he's enough. So understanding your enough also will help you now so that you don't stretch yourself over to find yourself unnecessarily. So I think it's about purpose for me.
I would like a few people to just say what's their take home, what their take home is for tonight. There's a lot. For me, you know, I've had a privilege to work with both of them. And I have learned a lot from Stephen. One of the things that I would change if I was to go back would be to be employed.
We live in a world of social media where business is glamorized. Everybody the behind the scenes of what it takes, the failures and the lessons. And we do read stories about Wayne Dyer. But I think it's more profound when stories who's not so foreign, because you're able to relate to say, wow, I can see myself in that story. So has also feedback to them for their bravery, for being open about their stories, because but for them to be so honest and so open and vulnerable, it's very heartwarming, and I wish them the best of luck.
Same here, Lena. I'm so excited. Squally, thank you for inviting me. This was amazing. And I've always wanted to be in a space where people are talking about business in the most unfiltered way, because I always felt like when people sometimes talk about it, I don't even understand, because I'm not even experiencing some of the things that they're talking about. And right now with these conversations, I could relate, because to talk from Kalong when you're starting a business young and then growing into it. So I could relate with a lot of things that they were saying. And also I just love how, as much as they have like similar experiences, they also have different experiences when it comes to business. It's so nice. And being a woman in a male-dominated industry, it's always so challenging, because even when you talk to your peers about some of your challenges, which most of the time they're men, like my men over here, they don't understand, you know. And as much as we could be in different businesses, sometimes as a woman in business, you can relate to some of the things she was saying. I was like, oh shit, I've been in situations where I have to make a decision, or my morals, should I, you know. So this was such a beautiful space to be in. And also I loved being in a space whereby dreaming big, it's not unrealistic, because I just feel like most of the time when we dream is like, okay, just calm down a little bit. But being with people with like minds, it's amazing. So this was such a beautiful experience for me.
I think the most powerful lesson I learned today was that failure doesn't define you, and that even though you do get knocked down by life, the opportunity to rebuild yourself from nothing is constantly present.
Yeah.
And I think that was just something that really resonated with me. So yeah, thank you.
And we will be sharing this information on YouTube, also on our Instagram page. Go follow that and listen exactly on what has been said. So much has been said, and I would like for you to go and implement. Lekatsa said something that I think is a problem for so many people. Execution, execution, execution. We all know what needs to be done. We understand how it needs to be done, when it needs to be done, but we fail to execute on that. So let's go think and process the information that we learned and see how we can apply it in our everyday business. And I think we will be different people from here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, you want to say something then?
So I just want to quickly say thank you to, again, to our wonderful speakers that came through and were vulnerable with us. I think I learned quite a bit. And thank you to everyone who came and was part of this community today. And I also want to thank Nadima Toso and his team for coming through and spending the entire night with us here. We really appreciate you. I think we're creating a truly interesting space here. And if we allow ourselves to become part of it, we could become part of something big. Truly a movement. And we look forward to what we're going to achieve together.